Welcome, everybody, to the Nick Leach Show. Today is Tuesday, October 3rd, and I'm just going to get it out the way here first. I'm going to apologize for anyone that has watched every episode up into this point, and even for those that might be watching for the first time, audio probably sounds like shit. I don't know this for sure, but as we're recording, we were having some technical issues. The normal site that we typically record on was not working properly, so we had to move over to Skype. I don't know if Skype has really updated anything since, the iPod Touch days, but it's the only one that I think is free. Steady just changed the name in our call to this app sucks. So we're making do with what we got here. So if it does sound like shit, we apologize. We'll try to figure out for Thursday shows what's going on. But we are going to do our hot take rundown here in just a couple moments. Then we'll recap every NFL game from Sunday. And then based on time, don't know if we'll get to it today. We're going to try to talk a little bit Ryder Cup, but that is not promised. So we'll see where we're at by the time we finish our tangents and babbling on about the NFL. So quick thing before we jump into that hot take rundown steady. I thought of this on Sunday evening when I was, finishing up when Sunday Night Football was going on. It's kind of the last sporting event that was on for the weekend. But this past weekend / maybe you can throw Friday in there included, might have been one of the best weekends that we've had in recent time when it comes to sports, probably since springtime. I'd say when NBA playoffs were going on, hockey, all that fun stuff. But the reason I say that, you had college football and NFL, both kind of in the full swing of things. It's not, opening weeks for either one of those leagues. So we're starting to really figure out like what teams are good, what teams are bad. But also on top of that, we had the Ryder Cup this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They were over in Europe. So that kicked off early in the morning. And then, it rolled right into football both on Saturday and Sunday. Then you had the end of the MLB season, which playoff picture is set. We said farewell to Miggy. And then the last cherry on top that was for me was NASCAR had a big race this weekend at Talladega. Unbelievable race. Playoff implications going on there as well, too. And for me, I was trying to think back maybe even right around the March Madness time. I know you're a big college basketball fan, but this might have been the best weekend we've had since the NBA and NHL finished up their seasons.
Well, yeah, definitely a good sports weekend. I don't know if it's top tier. I don't know. The Ryder Cup, I don't know. I don't know how many people actually care. In your opinion, where does that rank in golf tournaments? That's definitely below all four majors. So that's the fifth biggest event of the year.
Yeah, 6. I think the Players might even be a bigger weekend. That the Players Championship is the unsung 5th major. So I would say probably, just below that. But it feels accordingly as big as another major for sure.
Okay. It sucked. The MLB, I guess seeding exactly wasn't set going into Sunday, but no playoff berths were available on Sunday.
Right.
So that definitely didn't help the situation there. 'Cause I can just think that potentially here, because with the MLB playoffs actually coming more full swing as the month of October gets in, there's going to be actual real games that are meaningful happening on weekends, and then also hockey and the NBA will start towards the end of the month too. So potentially, it's still definitely, it's the biggest weekend that we've had since April. Definitely. I don't even think you can compare it at this point. The schedule did work out well that golf was that early in the morning too, which they should just do when they're stateside too, instead of having guys tee off at 3:00 in the afternoon. They should make golf a morning sport. It's just something you should just turn on when you wake up, do your chores around the house and just have it on in the background. It's a perfect sport for that. It's the
Well,
easiest sport to have on for that.
Yeah, and I remember even, back in 2019 when Tiger Woods won the Masters, it was they had to tee off early because of weather, and it is a great way to wake up Sunday morning and have the final round to any event. I would bet a decent amount of money. Maybe, I mean, they do just fine during their major seasons because you're not conflicting with football. But if I was them, I would generally, as soon as football starts back up, I would try to, figure out a way to make sure all those guys are teed off early morning. I feel like the eyeballs on the sport would be much bigger from that standpoint.
Yeah, when there's not, especially football. I mean, the other sports, I don't know that it matters too much that you're competing with, but football for sure. Like at worst, just tee off by 9 a.m. and I think you're going to be playing perfectly into the hand of 1 o'clock start times. Yeah, at least like the top tier guys, like if you want to have guys come back, like if you're within so many strokes that potentially, like each course is going to be different, but just have it played out where it's going to play like, okay, you're not expecting anyone to go 10 under today. Anybody that's below that still made the cut and has to play on Sunday, you're teeing off, after the leaders. Like you just got to finish it around to figure out where you're going to stand, but you're not going to finish in the top 10. So, or something like that. If they can figure it out on the fly based on what guys are doing that weekend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the same time too, you have cuts for all these events as well. So, everybody can tee off or start teeing off everyone at 7 o'clock, do 10 minutes and you team off on 1 in 10. You just send them off at the same, make sure all the leaders tee off on the front side, and then anyone that played real bad, they can tee off on the back,
which also I think makes more sense for spectators that are going to the course as well, because then you have multitude of options when you get there first thing in the morning. Like I remember when I went to Waste Management, like it was kind of cool because I went on Saturday, so round 3, and round 2 didn't finish in time, so they had to finish round 2 Saturday morning. And so like I got there, first off, Waste Management's insane. People are there way too early just to get to 16. I got there like 9 a.m. and there was still people finishing up their rounds, and then it was a quick little jump into the next one, where as if that didn't happen, you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs waiting for 7 groups to be on the course at a time before like any action happens, because walking in crowds in a golf course isn't the most ideal, especially big events where there's a lot of people. If you're not posted at a hole, you're not really seeing much. It's difficult to see everybody because there's not stands everywhere. You can overlook the holes. So yeah, I would think that golf can make their sport a little bit better, and I think that's one way to do it. And then you also just don't have or needing people to sit around and watching a TV for 10 hours a day. You can have them watching for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Live Golf has essentially done with their shot. I mean, they've got a field of 50 something players and they just shotgun everyone off, and it's a 4-hour event, much like other sports. So,
well, and just to segue this into baseball talk too. I mean, baseball just came out with their stuff. Baseball numbers are up significantly this year with the pitch clock. And games are down like 24 or 27 minutes a game. So people are loving it, apparently. Like, I don't think you get those the attendance records like that, or the TV numbers if you're just extending things longer than they need to. Like, make a shorter event that's better for the viewer, and that's what people want nowadays. So I don't think it makes any difference that you're teeing off on 1 and 10 at the same time in a golf tournament. It shouldn't make any difference.
No, I agree. And you just, again, there's a way to structure it. They've done it in majors before, so why not do it?
Yeah, they've had to do things on the fly, like you said, for weather or whatever. Yeah, like, and they've done it before. It's not like it's a new thing to the PGA that they have to implement.
And the golf coverage debacle is still something they have not been figured out of having one provider be able to do the entire day or entire event, much like the Masters on Thursdays and Fridays. It's on ESPN Plus, then it shifts over to Disney, and then it's on to the live network on ESPN from 3 to 7. And then if the guys aren't finished, then it goes to ESPN2. It's like, it's been crazy. Like, if you can shrink that, then you probably have better TV deals that people don't have to go search and use 12 different apps to watch one round of golf.
Yeah, I think that's what's bothersome too, is like a lot of the time they only have like featured groups in some of this shit too for a long period of time while there's plenty of other golfers on the course.
Right.
You can easily get everybody in now within 6 hours instead of 8 to 10. It's really not that difficult.
Yep. I did not expect to come into today's show trying to figure out the golf television debacle, but we
because it worked out well with how football, like on especially Sunday, like they were done by the time football came around with time to spare. And I don't think, what time did they tee off Eastern time? 6:30. So they could still had another hour.
Yeah. I mean, the first groups, they were going out in twosomes on Sunday, so it was a little bit different than how Saturday worked out. But the first guys teed off at 5:30 on Sunday, and they were teeing off all the way through 7:45. So, it would have ran.
What would be faster if they went in groups of, say they just went in groups of 3 every day instead of when they could do cuts in regular tournaments to go to 2. What's 3? I assume is faster, right?
No, 2's always faster. It just elongates the starting time. So that's typically the only difference. So, the pace of play might be slower if you go 3, but then you can shrink the time of when guys are teeing off if you put them in 3. So, yeah, that's a whole nother dilemma for a different day.
Gotcha.
But yeah, overall, phenomenal weekend. I had 4 TVs going at one point on Sunday. I had NASCAR on one, Red Zone on the other. I don't know what I would have done if the Lions were playing, because usually I have them on one TV, then the Lions on, or then Red Zone on the other. But I had NASCAR on one, Miggy's game on the other. So it was perfect amount. But 4 TVs is still a lot. So, but if you time it up all right, everything works out the way it's supposed to. So just I was supposed to get a lot more done this weekend around the house. That just did not happen. I was too locked into the TV. So
Saturdays.
Yeah. Saturday. Spent a lot of time. Well, Saturday, I just got a later start. I started watching golf on Saturday morning. That's the only problem is you don't get a lot done if you wake up early and start watching golf.
I didn't really watch too much golf on Saturday because Friday was a shit show. So I didn't care by that point to wake up. I was like, I'm going to do all my shit now because I assume I'll watch some of it Sunday while I look at fantasy and all that other stuff or NFL slate.
Yeah, I totally get it. So speaking of NFL, are you ready to get into our week 4 hot take rundown?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's do it. All right, so we're going to go in chronological order as we do every week. That'll be the last time I announce that. But starting off the Thursday night game, Detroit Lions at Green Bay. Detroit wins 34-20.
Yeah, Lions fans put Packers front office in a frenzy.
The Lions will win the NFC North before week 17. Atlanta 7 at Jacksonville 23.
The NFL tried their best to run Toy Story.
Bijan Robinson looked just as awesome in Andy's room. Miami at Buffalo. Buffalo 48, Miami 20.
The Bills will win the AFC. I think it's clear.
Miami is very good against bad teams and average against good teams. Denver 31, Chicago 28.
People think the Cardinals are the worst organization in the NFL, but it's by far the Bears.
Mine was the Bears should sell the team. Baltimore 28, Cleveland 3.
Deshaun Watson was scared to use his arm for the first time ever.
Jesus Christ. Baltimore is so much better when Mark Andrews is involved. Cincy 3, Tennessee 27.
Stafford's 35, and he's still a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
That was Cincinnati at Tennessee.
Oh, I think I forgot that game then.
Nice.
Cincinnati at Tennessee. Yeah, Joe Burrow's dead. There.
Jesus.
He sucks.
Mine is the Bengals season is over. LA Rams 29, Indianapolis 23, excuse me.
Bet you can't guess what I'm going to say. Matt Stafford is a top 5 quarterback. He still is.
This might be the best loss in Colts history. Buccaneers 26, Saints 9.
Yeah, Carr's injury has ruined the Saints season.
The Browns should try to trade for a guy like Baker Mayfield. Washington 31, Eagles 34.
The Eagles are the most overrated team in the NFL.
Ooh, I like that. I said, I don't know if Washington is a good team or if Philly is fooling us all. Minnesota 21, Panthers 13.
The Vikings are still terrible.
Minnesota would have lost this game against 29 other teams. Steelers 6, Houston 30.
CJ Stroud's a legit NFL quarterback.
CJ Stroud will be a Hall of Famer.
That's took it to the next level.
It is the hot take rundown. Raiders 17, Chargers 24.
Now, I haven't seen a photo of this, but Justin Herbert's hand injury had to have been gruesome.
We'll talk about that. I saw the brace, but we'll get into that. Max Crosby will be a Detroit Lion by the trade deadline. Cardinals 16, 49ers 35.
PSA to Bill Belichick, it's time to hang him up. You're nothing without Tom Brady.
Guy, you are on the wrong game again.
Patriots and Cowboys, is that what you said?
No, I said Cardinals 16, San Fran 35.
I'm going in the order that they're listed. You didn't go in the order they're listed. That one's on you.
That one is on me because I definitely missed that game. It is not. I didn't even have it on my sheet.
All right, so there, we both made one mistake then. Well, the
all right,
first
so
one was you did that one. I'm looking at the list, and that game is clearly right after the Chargers game.
All right. Well, rerun it back. All right, New England 3, Cowboys 38.
All right, well, retire, Bill.
Yeah, Mac Jones is not the guy at all. All right, now Cardinals 16, 49ers 35.
All right, the 49ers will see Buffalo in Vegas.
CMC is a top 10 running back of all time, or will be by the time his career is done.
Oh, God, I think he's already there.
Well, we'll discuss. All right, final game, Kansas City 23, Jets 20.
Zach Wilson just needs A-list celebrities in his box, and he's a great quarterback.
The refs completely bailed out the Chiefs in this game. All right, and that is our week 4 hot take rundown. All right, so we'll circle back. We're going to recap in that same order if we can remember how the order goes, because that was a shit show on both of our parts.
I knew when I wrote this out, I was like, this looks short, and every team played this weekend. Why? I only missed the one game, the Bills and Bengals and Titans, which, to be fair, I don't know that anybody watched this game. So whatever. But then the fact that you just did it 5 games later was great too.
The audio issues threw us for a loop. I missed completely. I could say the same thing. No one really watched the Dallas and New England game, so games to forget about. All right, going back to Thursday night, Lions go into Lambeau Field and just dominate the Packers 34-20. I will start off I am going to firmly pat myself on the back from this one, because exactly what I said was going to happened in this game. And I'm not typically one of those guys that toot my own horn, but I've got a pretty good feel, I would say, on what this Lions team is. And I've said from the get-go, it is different. It does not feel like the David versus Goliath team anymore. This team is expected to go into games like this and win these football games against inexperienced quarterbacks, and they did just that on Thursday night. And I mean, they jumped out to a 27-3 lead by the time halftime rolled around, and people can say it got a little scary there in the third or fourth quarter, but to me, it never really felt like it was ever going to get away from the Lions, and that to me is just the ultimate sign of a great football team.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive front has been completely different the last 2 games compared to the first 2 games. The first 2 games, they were non-existent. And the last 2 games, they've eaten the offensive line alive. It's been a complete difference in the last 2 games. And even with Goff not looking his best, I mean, just give the ball to Montgomery. I've been saying Montgomery's probably the biggest key to this offense. I mean, I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs does what he does. I mean, he's not that big back that's going to bruise through the defensive line like that. People can be all up in arms about his usage. A lot of fantasy people are, but that's your own fault for taking a rookie running back that doesn't carry the ball 15 times and knew that coming into the year. I don't know how you didn't understand that.
I'm
why I never drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. I never drafted him because that was moronic to think coming into the season he was going to be a top 5 running back or a top 10 running back. He's not that guy.
Well, and from that standpoint too, if you know anything about football and you've watched David Montgomery over the last couple of years on a just horrendous Chicago Bears team, the last 4 years I think he was there, that offensive line was hot garbage, and he still had times that he looked like a true RB1. So you could only imagine as soon as Jamal Williams left and went to the Saints, and I knew that the Lions were signing Montgomery. Well, I could care less about what Jamal Williams did for the Lions or what he was ever going to do. David Montgomery is a real running RB1 in the National Football League. And for those fantasy nerds that think they know so much better and are getting so pissed off about the Jahmyr Gibbs usage, you're just a moron for not realizing who David Montgomery is or what he was going to bring to the Lions with this offensive line. So to sit there and say that you're mad at the Lions organization and Kirsten saying, oh, the Lions said they were going to use this and use Gibbs like that. Read a book or just stop playing fantasy football because you clearly do not know what you're doing.
Montgomery, especially how the Lions used Jamal Williams last year, you knew Montgomery was going to do the same role, and he's a better back. Yeah, that's why I don't have Gibbs on any of my leagues. I knew that was a stupid pick. He was being drafted way too high. How Gibbs was used in this game is how he should be used. Maybe try to find him a little bit better receptions, and that's he needs space. I mean, the guy's elusive. He's not a power back by any means. If he gets 10 carries a game, then something's wrong with Montgomery, or they're just getting gaping holes and they just want to exploit them at that point. I don't ever expect him to have that many carries. I mean, I think the running game is significantly better if you have Montgomery in, and I think it changes how the whole offense rolls, and clearly that's how it is. The Lions dominated this game. I mean, it really wasn't much of a game. I guess I don't really know what else to say. I think they played well. The biggest gripe I have is their how they came out in the second half. Just defensively, they didn't seem to be as aggressive as they were the first half. It's like I don't understand why change any kind of scheme or anything. I keep the pressure up, make Love get uncomfortable. They started giving him too much time, and Love is a capable quarterback, and he can make throws, and clearly he did. He also made mistakes too, but that a lot of those were because he was getting pressured nonstop. Yep. And then he let it up, and that would be my only gripe is in the second half they didn't come out with the same oomph that they had in the first half, and I think that's more to do with coaching than the players on the field.
Yeah, and to that degree too, I think that's an aspect of when you're up that big is don't be afraid, to come out in the third quarter and try to take some shots downfield and see if you just can't pour it on and kill any momentum that might swing in the second half. So hopefully there's adjustment there. I know they were just trying to play the clock possession, and I think they only threw the ball 5 times in the second half, if I remember hearing that correctly. So clearly they were just trying to, control the time of possession and wind the clock down, which, I mean, happened to turn out just fine. Jordan Love, I am not sold on him. He made maybe one good throw, and it was on a play that shouldn't have even counted in the first place. As a Lions fan, over the course of my entire life, I think I can sit here and say I've seen everything that the Lions can get screwed of by an NFL referee. And for whatever reason, there's something out there that we're not thinking of that could possibly go wrong. The fact that the third quarter wind all the way down to 0 minutes on the clock and they still let the play go off. And then you had Terry McAuley in the booth saying like, no, that play should have been stopped immediately. It's not like the play clock where you get a little bit of a buffer. That's two primetime games. The Lions have had something, not that it changed the course of the game. I mean, they essentially ended up winning both of those games, but the Jawan Taylor situation from Thursday Night Football opening week, and then that debacle on third down kind of gave Green Bay a little bit of momentum going into the fourth quarter. But it's just like, how do we not have every single play in the NFL reviewable with a sky judge or somebody up top?
Yeah, I don't disagree. Still think you should have stopped the play. I mean, the deep ball down the field, I don't know. It seemed pretty obvious what was happening there. Yeah, they got it wrong. I mean, NFL refs get it wrong every game. Saw it in the Sunday night game too. It's the unfortunate part of the NFL. I still the Lions. That was my only gripe. I mean, that whole third quarter, the fourth quarter they stepped it back up. The whole third quarter, the Lions defense did not seem aggressive at all. And that's what got you in the situation you were in the first half, was getting after Love, not letting him get comfortable back there. And in the third quarter, they kind of just pulled off the gas and just started letting him throw the ball around and having time in the pocket. So that's my only really big gripe. I mean, I guess I said the Lions fans put Packers into our front office into a frenzy just because they posted after the game. First off, there was a lot of Lions fans there. I mean, the photo going around before the game was absurd. I'm so sick of seeing these. People take photos hour plus before games start and think that the away team, and a lot of the time it's been Lions because I'm a Lions fan, so a lot of Lions accounts are posting this. That picture, not even close to representation of what that field looked like. Way more Packers fans than Lions fans were there. It's not even close. But take the photo way before the game even starts is so annoying. Of course, the away team is going to show up to the stadium before the home team. The home team does their tailgates and all that beforehand. Like, I think it's a little out of proportion. Also, stop doing the ski masks. The ski masks are dumb. I'm so over that. And also, very many people in Detroit are very pissed off about that. So I think it's something that should stop, should never have started. It's now from an injured player that's not even playing anymore, so we can all stop it. We'll see if he's even back with the Lions next year. And then that's all my big gripes. I mean, the Lions played fantastic this game. I mean, like you said, they should easily secure this division. This division is so bad. Probably the worst in football. Top to bottom. Like, I mean, the Vikings squeezed out a win. We'll talk about them soon. The Bears suck. And then you just beat up on the Packers in an away game in Lambeau. So easily should win this division. It would be shocking if you don't win this division. If you don't win this division, something went wrong.
Yeah. Major league wrong. So it made, set up for a great weekend. I consumed a lot of Detroit Lions sports media, even from the national news standpoint. And then it even kind of leaked over to Sunday, where I think it was in that blowout between New England and Dallas that I can't remember who it was, but they essentially talked about the Detroit Lions for 10 minutes on the broadcast. And essentially because
that game was so boring, they had to find other things to talk about.
Yeah. So it was great. I mean, it's the Lions are 3-1 now, sole possession of the NFC North, and they should not turn the reins over whatsoever moving forward. I mean, their schedule, the schedule of the next few weeks is shaping up to be really good. You got Panthers at home this upcoming Sunday, and then at the Buccaneers.
That's a tough win against Panthers. Bucks is a tough game.
Bucks is going to be a tough game, and people shouldn't overlook them. And again, Dan Campbell's been doing a great job at making sure, not looking past any opponent. And I think that loss against Seattle should essentially, make them realize, like, hey, don't look past them just because they might not seem like a Super Bowl contending team. But the Buccaneers are a solid team, top to bottom. And then you go to the Ravens, which should be one of your toughest matchups of the entire season. But if you go on the road and win big there, I mean, look, if you beat the Chiefs on the road, which you did, you go to Green Bay and dominate in Lambeau, which we haven't seen in quite some time. And then you can go on the road to Baltimore. I think arguably one of the toughest places to play. No matter what happens, you get into the playoffs, there's no excuse not to win a road game in the playoffs. And you win 3 of those games, which a lot of people were looking at the season of those could be potential losses. This team should have a Super Bowl expectations, in my opinion, moving forward. I get there's some good teams on NFC with the Eagles and 49ers, but those are big wins, and those aren't flukes by any means. So it's exciting. It's going to be very fun to watch this team down the stretch. The last thing that we do have to talk about is the ban or the suspension that got lifted to Jameson Williams. Huge news on Friday when that got announced. The NFL Players Association and the NFL came to an agreement on new rules and protocols when it comes to sports gambling. And because of those new protocols and rules, Jameson Williams' suspension got lifted 2 games early. So he was originally banned for 6, which, looking at the new rules now, that suspension would only constitute a 2-game suspension. So, there's one way you can look at it is like it took this suspension in order to get the rules changed for the better. So I know people are like, oh, he's owed 2 games. I was like, well, I mean, probably shouldn't have been doing it in the first place because it's still against the rules to do it at all. So that huge news for the Lions. That's kind of the missing piece that you could argue that we need on the offense moving forward.
Yeah. Here's a PSA: fantasy people, don't play him week 5. People are gonna be pissed about that too. Yeah, I think it's gonna take time. I mean, this is also a guy that has barely been on an NFL field. It's gonna take time for him to get acclimated. I think the hope for Lions fans is that he's just ready and useful and productive come like week 10 and on. Like, it's gonna take a few weeks for him. You're pretty much getting a rookie week 5 of the season that hasn't been with the team also for the last month. He wasn't allowed to practice until this week. So that's why I say I think it's going to take a few weeks for him to get fully acclimated into the team. But like, you got other wide receivers like Josh Reynolds that have been producing. So I don't think there's a huge rush to get him active and playing full speed and playing a lot of snaps right away. It's going to take a few weeks. I expect after the bye, like, to really start seeing him probably ramp up. It's good. Give him the next month or so to get into the swing of the NFL grind. Hopefully he stays healthy and is able to stay on the field and stay practicing, because he's going to need the reps. And I do think it's going to make a difference. I mean, the downfield threat there just helps that offense a lot, and we don't really have that, especially a speedster like him. So hopefully that does change how Goff produces, especially deep down the field. Let Amon-Ra finish up in the middle, do what he's doing, don't change anything there, and just have another guy outside that can be that deep threat that we need. Yeah.
I mean, especially with the emergence of Sam Laporta the last few weeks. I mean, he's looked phenomenal. I think still leads the NFL in multiple tight end receiving categories. So, I mean, and you look what Montgomery did last week. I think 32 carries, 128 yards, 121 yards, something like that, 3 touchdowns. Really just the missing piece. If you keep everyone healthy and keep everyone together, like, this offense should really start humming and will be real dangerous throughout the entire season. So great news there. And it almost felt like the Lions got 2 wins with that announcement coming on Friday. So super pumped to see him on the field. And I think that's just the number one thing Lions want to see, is just him in a uniform and him out on the field. So that's got very long-winded for us, Steady. So let's fire through some of these other ones. All right, next game up, we had the London game. Wasn't much of a game, to be honest with you. Falcons 7, Jaguars 23. Good bounce back game for the Jaguars. They needed this. And luckily for them, they get to stay in London next week as they play another international game.
Yeah, they host the Bills though. I mean, good for them that they get to stay out there though. So I mean, that's got to be some kind of advantage. Getting used to the time zone, not having to travel. Um, yeah, I mean, this game doesn't have a whole lot to say. I mean, the Falcons are Desmond Ritter's definitely not a long term answer. Um, at some point, you got to think, hey, maybe we just keep him in there, hope for the best. At the same time, you don't want to piss off the rest of the offense. So um, maybe a change. Arthur Smith said that Ritter's still the starting quarterback already for this week. So I don't see that changing quite yet. But at some point, they're going to have to be thinking like, hey, maybe finishing closer to a top 5 pick with Drake May potentially being in play with Carolina not having their own pick may be worth doing that. Because, I mean, they got a lot of young pieces. I mean, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, now Bijan Robinson. That offense is definitely very young. If they just can get a quarterback, and then for the Jaguars,
Yeah, real quick on that Jaguar or the Falcons part is, and that's something kind of your point. I think that's something that you could see happening throughout the league, especially with the way some of these rookies are performing this year. And we'll talk about CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson here in a bit, but I mean, you've talked about it since we started the show, the amount of depth that's in this draft coming up. Yeah, you're going to have teams that are going to go out and compete every week, but obvious decisions like we've seen Heineke win multiple games in the NFL. The fact that you're going to sit him still behind a guy like Desmond Ridder, who has not looked good since taking over this team. And I get he's a guy that you drafted with those expectations, but clearly he's shown very quickly that he just does not, he's not the guy whatsoever. And it's more decision-making than it is anything. I think you're going to see some of these coaches stick to their guns because they are going to try to drive their draft stack up and land one of those big name quarterbacks that are going to be in the draft this year.
Yeah, the Falcons are going to have to do that. And then for the Jaguars, I'm just still not. They looked pretty solid in their week 1 opener, and since then that offense seems to be struggling. I don't really know what the answer is there. I mean, they have just as many pieces as anybody in the league. They just can't put it all together. I get they went out and won this game pretty handily, but I'm still not very impressed with what I've seen out of the Jaguars. I think that division, probably the most competitive division in football. I think all teams are 2-2 at this point, and I don't know that there's a clear front runner or a clear worst team. If I had to pick right now, I'm not picking the Jaguars to win that division, and that was not the case pretty much for everybody 4 weeks ago before the season started. So we'll see if they get their things turned around. I think Trevor Lawrence he needs to have a big game, and then I think teams are gonna start considering them back as a favorite in that division. But there's a lot of competition in that division. It's a problem.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of what that team did last year too. It's like they had some games they looked really good, and other games they just got the shit kicked out of them. So it's like, I don't know, are they just a really flashy average team in the NFL? I clearly the jury's still out. I mean, they're 2-2 right now, and yeah, it's hard to make of what that team actually. Maybe that could be part of it too. Maybe they're searching for their identity with all the key pieces they got there. So. Yeah, jury is for sure still out on the Jaguars.
Yeah, and then quick note: the Toy Story stuff was not that good. I was expecting way better.
Yeah, I mean, the graphics and everything were cool. I mean, clearly it was not made for guys like us. But
I wanted to watch that game fully like that, but it had too many hiccups that made it unbearable for me.
Yeah, and then the announcing too was too much of that is a first down. You've got 4 downs to get a first down.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do it. So they need almost like a Toy Story game with the real broadcast going around in the background, because that would have been electric.
I think, yeah, that would have been a lot better.
I love that. I love that we're 30-year-old guys talking about why the Toy Story broadcast did not fit our entertainment purposes.
I did see someone tweet. It goes because Slinky the dog was doing the yard the yardage, and he there was a penalty, and he backs up his butt, and he goes, the tweet was like, oh, how it's already painful enough when you get a penalty against you for 5 yards, but then you got to see Slinky back his ass up.
I did also see it. Someone said in the matter of an offseason, the NFL figured out how to use a Slinky the dog as a yardage marker, and we're still using chains and pylons to measure out first down. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Give me Slinky the dog on every sideline. All right. The game that I thought would be a lot better than it was, Dolphins 20, Bills 48. Talk about a good old-fashioned ass kicking and come back down to earth from the Bills to the Dolphins. And the best way that I can equate this is almost like a big brother, little brother situation. I get it's a little bit of a weird comparison, but to me, it's like, all right, the Denver Broncos are the little brother of the Bills, and then the
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, no.
The Denver Broncos.
Yeah, or wait, what did I say?
You said Denver Broncos. Miami Dolphins are the little brother.
No. I was saying no. So the comparison I was going is like the Denver Broncos are like the little brother to the Buffalo Bills, and then the Miami Dolphins go in there. Some random kid goes in and beats the shit out of your little brother, and then Big Brother's got to come up and stick it to you and let you know who's the real boss. So that was kind of the feeling I got watching this game. Dolphins clearly have big issues on the defensive side of the ball that need to be addressed before you think you can go win some AFC playoff football games. And then, to be honest, you put some pressure on Tua. He did not look like the Tua we've seen from the first 3 weeks.
Yeah. No. Devon Achane, definitely a good running back. I mean, I think he's the starter now. I mean, they stopped playing most of that game. All
right, here's a question.
I don't really.
Before you
go ahead.
All right, so how many carries did you think Achane had?
I'm looking at it. I already know.
Oh, damn. I was going to say, yeah. So before you go to your next point, Achane had 8 carries and Raheem Mostert had 7. And Achane ran for 92 more yards than Mostert did. So if you're a Raheem Mostert fantasy owner like myself, not what you want to see.
No, it's not great. I don't really know what to. I think if you're the Dolphins, you just take the loss and you'll be fine. I mean, I still think they're probably a playoff team. The Bills, I mean, they look like the best team in the AFC by far right now. I don't know. After 4 weeks, I don't know that there's another team that's even close to them. I mean, the Chiefs, no. Baltimore, I don't think so. And the AFC South it's just the ugly stepchild that's just going to end up making the playoffs. I don't know. Pick what team. I don't think any of those teams are winning a playoff game. But, yeah, I think Josh Allen since week 1 has looked unbelievable. I mean, he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now this year. I mean, he took that from Tua by just pounding him this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see, when do these guys play? Do we know when they play each other again?
Yeah, week 18.
It might not matter at that point. I think both teams probably already secured playoff spots. That kind of sucks. We're getting robbed of that game then.
It could be. I mean, that could be. Depending on how both these. Yeah, it could be for the division as well too. A home playoff game. So. Yeah, I mean, regardless, the Dolphins kind of have a little bit of a gauntlet coming up, but yeah, I mean, it's you go back and kind of look, and I get everyone was super big on the Dolphins, but you look at the teams they beat the first 3 games. It's not a scary list of teams. It's the Chargers, Patriots, and Broncos. We saw what just happened to Patriots the last couple or against Dallas on Sunday. Broncos are bottom 3 team in the NFL, and then Chargers are the Chargers. They like to lose games on purpose. Yeah, they got a great offense, but their defense has been horrendous the last 2 years. So it's not like the Dolphins have beat a good football team, and then the first one that they go up against, they get the shit kicked out of them too. So maybe it's something that's needed, and said, hey, maybe we aren't where we want to be just yet, or Tua's not as far along as we hope he is, as far as becoming a mature NFL quarterback, because that was, if I'm a Dolphins fan, I get your 3-0 going like that's something you don't want to see, that lose by 28 points when you just had a 50-point victory against the Broncos the week before.
I think their biggest problem is defense. I'm not worried about the offense getting back on track. I don't even think they were that bad in this game. Maybe the offensive line, but I think the bigger story was Josh Allen just tore their defense apart. Like, it wasn't even close. I mean, he was doing pretty much anything. He went 21 for 25. Like, if you're throwing 25 passes and like 4 incompletions, that you're chewing a defense to pieces. So, and they only ran the ball for 100 yards. Not like they did a whole lot on the ground either. It was Josh Allen in the air, and it was pretty quick, big plays too.
Well, and then
so I think that's their biggest problem.
Yeah,
I don't think it's their offense.
I listened to an interview with Burger McFarland that he did with Part of My Take last weekend, and he kind of talked about the Dolphins. The one part that he brought up about them, he goes, that offensive line is not very good. He goes, yes, they're off to a good start for the season, but he goes, put some pressure on the offensive line and put some pressure on Tua, and they're going to kind of show you what their true colors are there on offense. So I think you got a little dose of that, and that was kind of, he was kind of the first person that I've seen come out and say something more negative about the Dolphins. You know, everything else has been all the praise, and rightfully so. They have looked really good through 3 games, but again, I think you got to take into account the games that are going to be against the eventual playoff teams like the Bills, who are clearly the class of the AFC. So, I mean, still a long road ahead in the rest of the season, but yeah, I mean, it could be a good reality check for the Dolphins moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I still think they're a playoff team.
Yeah, no,
I think their offense will put up enough points that they're going to beat enough teams.
I definitely agree too. So, but I mean, they've got the Bills have laid out a blueprint of how to go out and beat them a little bit. Just chuck the ball down the field and beat up on the O-line. All right, next game turned out to be a pretty solid game. Battle of 0-3 teams. Broncos 31, Bears 28. Kind of a shocking ending to the game, I would say. The Bears were up.
Eberflus is an idiot.
Yeah, the Bears were up by, 21 points going into the fourth quarter, they were up 21 points. I don't remember exactly what it was. Bears were up massively. Did not feel like there was a chance they were going to lose this game.
They were up 14.
And it didn't seem like there was a chance in how they were going to lose this game, and they managed to lose this in horrific fashion. The Bears had the ball inside the 20 with 2 minutes left to go, and they decide to go 4th and 1 shotgun formation on 4th and 1, and come up well short of the first down marker. Give the ball back to Denver. Denver goes down, kicks field goal, wins the football game.
Well, before that, I mean, this was all coaching. So it was about 2:30 left. Yeah, and they're right around the 20-yard line. Get the ball down with it's 4th down. I think the clock is running. So they're trying to get them to jump. Don't snap the ball. Take a timeout. So you think in that situation, they're just going to end up kicking the field goal. It's a tie game. They're going to kick the field goal. They don't kick the field goal. They go back out there, line up in shotgun formation, and run the ball, and don't even come close. That's just terrible coaching. That's inexcusable. I mean, I hate to say it, but Justin Fields looked decent in this game.
He looked great.
And they're going to do that to lose the game. I mean, in my opinion, I think he saved his job, at least for now, for this season. Because, I mean, there was already rumors that the undrafted Badgett, or however you say his name, is going to get in here soon, but it doesn't seem like the case anymore. It seemed like they were trying to prepare him for week 6 to take over and see what you got. And then Justin Fields goes out and has an unbelievable game, and then you blow it in the last second when you should easily just kick that field goal. Make your defense make a stop. If you lose that way, maybe you get a ball back. But also to use your timeout in that situation made zero sense. It was just terrible coaching. And the Broncos just suck. Sean Payton, I don't know what he's doing with that team because that defense looks drastically different than last year's. Not even close to what they were doing last year. At least I guess the offense is putting up some points, but I mean, your defense is getting blown out by everybody. So I don't think the Broncos are going to be very competitive this season. I think they're going to hover around maybe 5 wins or so. Not scare either the Chargers or the Chiefs in that division. I guess get lucky and maybe beat out the Raiders. It just depends on what Jimmy G looks like, but that team is bad.
Yeah, no, and so let me ask you this question. So, yeah, Justin Fields looked really good this week, but I was thinking about this, I think even after maybe on Friday, after we recorded on Wednesday, is there any way we've seen Ohio State players do it in the past with Terrell Pryor going to play receiver, Braxton Miller? Is there any chance that the Bears could go draft a quarterback? They've got the top 2 draft picks, right? Is there any chance Justin Fields could be a running back in the NFL? Because I do think the guy has elite level speed, and we've seen what he can do in the open field. I haven't seen anybody even bring that proposition. It's kind of unfathomable because of, where you took him in the draft as far as quarterback goes. But if you are going to move on to him, like, hey, is there any thought to you becoming a running back in the NFL?
I don't think maybe like a Taysom Hill kind of role. I don't know that you go full on running back situation. I mean, the guy's clearly athletic and can play on an NFL field. I would move him more out wide than I would put him in the backfield. I think he's better suited he's a big guy too. I wouldn't put him as a tight end. I don't think he's big enough to do that, but run him like you run Curtis Samuel or Taysom Hill, where you at least you could have potential and random screenplays or something that, hey, you got another rocket arm that could throw a pass at any time if you got him on the outside. I would. I don't think he's going to be serving I mean, the Bears still have him it's not like he's just gone after this year.
Right.
Unless they release him, but I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, the guy's cheap. Why not use him in different ways? I just don't think he's an NFL quarterback.
Well, and to your point there too, is you start looking, let's say it does end up, they have the first and the second overall pick. Boom. You take Caleb Williams 1, you take Marvin Harrison 2, you still have Khalil Herbert, who I think is a very good NFL running back. And then you have a Justin Fields type player who you could use in a Taysom Hill type role. I think that Chicago Bears offense actually becomes very scary if you have the right guy calling the plays.
Yeah, that's the worst nightmare for me. I don't want them to have Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. because they also have DJ Moore. Cole Kmet's been a fine NFL tight end. I mean, he's not ever going to be a top 5 guy, but I mean, he's going to hover in the top 10 probably for a long time. And the guy's proven he can score in the NFL and catch passes. So he's going to be around. And also their other rookie, Roschon Johnson, too. Like, the Bears offense could be scary if that ends up happening. If they get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., as long as they get the correct coaching in there, which I don't think they have. I mean, this is a coaching loss here.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I think Justin Fields at least buys some time, unless he looks absolutely miserable, like Zach Wilson miserable on Thursday night. He's going to be starting for the next few weeks. I don't think they're going to move on to an undrafted rookie for no reason, unless they're really just, hey, dude, sorry, we're picking Caleb Williams and nothing we can do about it at this point.
Even if they do, I still think he just has freak ability that he could spread out and do something crazy out of the backfield. Like I said, some of those runs he made last year when he got into open field, it's like there was no chance of bringing him down. And that's clearly a piece that he's missed from his game this year. And I know they were probably trying to get him to run less, but hell, man, just let him run the football.
Yeah. Hopefully they just get rid of him then. They don't have that weapon. Let him go somewhere else. Because I definitely think he could be a Taysom Hill in the league. Easily.
I think so too. No doubt. Might even be better. Better Taysom.
I think he would be better because Taysom Hill's more of a I want to be contacted and like run into people. Justin Fields is like, hey, you give him a little bit of space, the guy's going to the house.
Yeah, he's gonna make a guy miss. So like that was my thought.
Yeah.
I was like, this. I mean, yeah, you can give up on him as a quarterback, but don't. I mean, throw him in the first team offense with as a wide receiver or in the back.
That's what I would do.
Let's just see what he can do. And he looks really fast. We're number one too. So
I would move him out wide.
Yep. But that's why we're not coaches. All right. Next game, Ravens 28, Browns 3. Ravens look back to that fun Ravens offense that we've seen at glimpses this year. I will say the offense always looks a million times better when Mark Andrews has at least one touchdown. I have no stats behind that, but just from an eyeball test, the offense gets humming when Mark Andrews is catching footballs.
Yeah, the Browns just wanted to not play this game. I don't. The reports were weird afterwards. Deshaun Watson chose not to play. He said, "I didn't feel right." That is a weird thing to do when you're making that much money and you're cleared by doctors to play. They pretty much just threw DTR out there. Hey, short notice, dude, but you're playing today. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they expected him to do. Of course, they were going to lose this game. And I think the Ravens got to be up there in the AFC. I don't know if they're going to be. It's going to come down to how good their defense is because I don't think they're going to be a team that can put up. They put up 28 points in this game. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that against some of the other top tier teams, and especially when other teams are putting up points, that might be an issue for them. But they're as solid as it can be. I think they still need to figure out the running game a little bit. Potentially is Melvin Gordon's backfield, which is crazy to say that it's Melvin Gordon after all the shit that happened to him the last few years. But yeah, it seemingly might be his, and he's by far, I think, looked the best from an eye test perspective. So that could open up things a little bit more. If he's playing as well as he's been playing, and you're giving him the rock a lot more than he's been getting it, this Ravens offense could be back to looking like they were with old school JK when he's healthy and Gus Edwards actually being a good supplement to him. I don't think Gus Edwards is the starting running back for this team.
No, I think he's a good third down back when needed, but I don't know, man. What a disaster for the Cleveland Browns, but I don't feel bad for Cleveland whatsoever. I mean, again, I always felt bad about, say what you want about Baker Mayfield, whether you don't think he's a quarterback that can win playoff games or whatever it may be. I mean, he won playoff games when he was there, and then the way they kind of just said, "Hey, you're done. We're bringing in Deshaun Watson." I kind of think it's funny that he just kind of bailed on the team this weekend, even though he was cleared to play. I get his shoulder. He did not practice all week either, but like you said, it was weird to see that report come out, and just Browns fans have had zero hope to or be excited about anything since he's been a part of the team. And I just think that's, karma coming around to bite the organization in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're winning this game with him in it, but no. It didn't make the situation better that he didn't play. I think the game's a lot more competitive if he plays. For sure. But yeah, he's not been good.
No.
I don't have much hope for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the only other good hope is that the rest of the division is so bad. I mean, the Bengals are terrible. They're by far, I think, the worst team in this division. And then the Steelers, we'll see how healthy Kenny Pickett can be, but without him, I don't have much hope for the Steelers anymore either. So the division is crap. So maybe there's some potential for the Browns to stay in a playoff race at least deep into the year to keep the fan base at bay, but you're not winning the division. You lost at home to the Ravens. The Ravens look like they're going to continue to roll. I get they just lost last week, but I think that's just the NFL being the NFL. I don't think they're going to lose a whole lot this year. I mean, this is probably a 12-plus win team, and I don't know if the Browns can get to there.
Yeah, no, and that way that matchup in a couple of weeks with the Lions should be a pretty good matchup for the Ravens. So we'll learn about both those teams. But next game up, you talked about the Bengals. So the next game is Bengals at Titans. Titans 27, Bengals 3. I mean, at this point in time, I get it's only 4 games into the season and you're 1-3. Joe Burrow clearly is hurt. We talked about it on last week's show. Like long-term health. I mean, this is already a guy that had a serious knee injury. Why even continue to trot him out there and try to win these football games? I get the latter.
And you just paid him a ton of money.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you want to at least protect that investment to some degree? I get it. You might already have a shit season. He's already having a shit season. So there's no point to continue to put him out there and let him hobble around it and worry about hurting himself even more. So from that standpoint,
here's what I would do. I would sit him. I mean, you only have one win. Sit him, see what Jake Browning can do. Maybe you at least find out if you have a backup quarterback. And then you could potentially be in play for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
And then you can let T. Higgins walk. Don't have to pay one of the wide receivers coming off of a cheap deal. You get a rookie in on a cheap deal that's, by all expectations, going to be a superstar in the league. Pair him with Jamar Chase. That offense is, again, scary. I mean, you're 1-3 at this point. There's not much hope to turn things around, especially with your star quarterback being hurt.
Yeah, and the crazy part, yeah, he looked okay last week, but like, I don't think it
still wasn't great. The defense won that game.
Right, but like these muscle strains, they don't go away unless you're just resting or getting the right therapy. And clearly, like with him playing these games, you don't think. I mean, these defenses know that, and they're just going to continue to get after him. So that leg's only going to get worse from here on out. There's no way with him playing it's going to get better. And again, I will bring it up. Jamar Chase said, just let him sit the first 5 weeks. If we should be able to survive these first 5 weeks. I mean, clearly it's not making the case any better for where they're at, being at 1-3 already. So I don't know. I don't, clearly we're not NFL coaches. We don't make that decision, but from the eye test, the season's all but lost already because he's clearly not the same quarterback that we've seen the last couple of years. He can't do the things that's needed to make that offense be as lethal as we've seen. Just sit him, let him get healthy. And so, I mean, if you lose this year, so be it. Just go back to the drawing board, try to add a couple pieces in the offseason. It's not like you're doing a full rebuild. I think you'd rather keep that guy healthy. And
you can get in a situation where you actually could get hurt and say it's not. I mean, we're seeing Aaron Rodgers already walk with his Achilles injury, which is insane. But say it's something other than that for Joe Burrow that gets hurt. Say it's because of his calf strain that his knee gives out or something stupid like that. That's going to take over a year. I mean, we're still seeing Kyler Murray not be able to practice or do anything from his knee injury. The longer that happens into the season, the more that impacts next year. Looking at their schedule upcoming, they're played at Arizona and then home to Seattle and then a bye week. Sit him the next 2 weeks. You're giving him at least 3 weeks to do nothing. Maybe he's better because then the next stretch after that is at San Francisco, home against Buffalo, home against Houston, at Baltimore. That's a tough 4-game stretch there. Maybe you can sneak out a win. Maybe you're not 1-5. Maybe you're 2-4 going into your bye. I think that's probably a win. Maybe you just hope your defense does enough against Arizona to put you in situations and your backup quarterback. That's what I would do. I don't think they're going to do that, and I think they're going to have trouble the rest of the year. And I hope that Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt, but the longer you have an injured player playing on the field, the higher probability that he gets a serious injury is.
Yeah, math, stats, statistics. NFL is a brutal sport to be playing when you're healthy, let alone on one good leg. On the flip side of the ball, Titans looked awesome. Derrick Henry just needed a few weeks to get going. So 122 yards, 1 touchdown, and even threw for a touchdown in this one as well, too. So such a weird team. Tennessee just seems to be a weird team. every year.
It's the AFC South.
Yeah,
It's
it's hard.
unpredictable.
It's hard what to make out of it. I mean, you can't really put a gauge on it because you just don't know. Hey, am I going to get that shitty Tennessee team that we saw last week that looked like they had no hope, or are you going to get, Derrick Henry going off, and then Tannehill throwing for almost 250 yards. So it's just, I don't know what to make. It's just one of those teams you're going to watch week in and week out, and whatever happens throughout the game is going to happen. But it's almost like a team you can't have any expectations on. They could beat anybody, but they could also lose to anybody. It's such a weird team.
Yeah, I mean, they're 2-2. They haven't played a division opponent yet. So I mean, that's what's going to win this division is what you do against the other three teams in your division. Because I think all the teams are maybe right around league average, maybe hovering above or right below, depending on the week. So what they do going forward against the division opponents makes a difference. I mean, try to feed DeAndre Hopkins, and it looks like they tried to this week actually get him the ball as much as possible, and it paid off. And then Derrick Henry, of course, did look good. I mean, if he looks bad, I don't know that this offense is going to be very successful. I don't think Tannehill has that edge to him that he had like 2 years ago when he first went to Tennessee. It's not the same Tannehill anymore, and this might be the last go around. Even if they do make the playoffs, it just might be, hey, dude, it's time for us to start over fresh.
Yeah. Got two
but I mean, they're definitely
sit behind them.
Yeah, and they're definitely still in the division race. I mean, they got just as good of a shot as anybody else, I think, in this division to win it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much else on that game. Want to jump over to the next one, which is Rams at Colts. Rams 29, Colts 23. And I know I started off by saying this is the best loss in Colts history. They were down 23-0 at one point in the third quarter of this game. And then came all the way back and forced a overtime against the Rams. And yeah, you look at the box score and Anthony Richardson was only 11 for 25 and 200 yards. But it's not like he got rattled or anything by that means. You're facing, again, we've talked about it enough that this Rams team is a solid football team. I do think they're going to be a playoff contending team. And you almost had concerns like, oh shit, Anthony Richardson does not look good, especially coming off the injury. But the fact that he was able to at least lead this team back and force it to overtime, there had to be some solace, even though you did lose in OT to Puka Nacua on a touchdown. And I just think, the Colts probably didn't have much expectations coming into the season. So this is something that you want to be able to see out of a young quarterback is like, can he lead you from behind at some point? And clearly, very in his fourth or technically his third NFL game, he can do that.
Yeah. I hope for his sake that Jonathan Taylor actually comes back and wants to be a productive member of this team. I mean, like we've said, this division's wide open. You get Jonathan Taylor back there, that offense can look a little bit different. You're getting a star running back back there instead of Zach Moss. No offense to him. Jonathan Taylor is definitely a better running back. I think that can help alleviate some of the pressure off of him and maybe be able to get the ball moving a little bit more effectively. And then hopefully that opens up the passing game where he can be more accurate. That's going to be his biggest gripe in his career can he avoid turnovers? He didn't throw any this game. He did have a fumble, but he's clearly not that most accurate guy, 11 for 25. I think through the first 3 games that he's played, he hasn't been the most accurate person. But if you have an effective run game, especially short yardage or just be able to move the chain so you can get in better situations instead of being in third and long, I think that can help him a lot. I think he's a fine quarterback, and I think he'll be the starter there for a while. I don't think they're willing to do a one and done kind of deal with him. I think they're excited with what they're seeing. I think there's a lot of improvement he can still have. But the division's wide open. Get Jonathan Taylor back in there. Hopefully the guy's not being a baby about everything still and wants to get on a field and can help the team actually make the playoffs. Maybe I think for Taylor's sake, that's what you would want to do, because we've seen other running backs hold out, and once you leave and go to another team, things don't generally go well for those guys. So ideally, I would hope that he wants to come back to at least prove that he can still play, and then if you want to walk later, do it. But for the hope of this team, I think they're good. And then for the Rams, I do think the Rams are a playoff team. That offense, especially without Cooper Kupp, have looked phenomenal. I get the offensive line didn't look great against Cincinnati, but that was really the only big gripe. I mean, they were super competitive against the 49ers. I don't know that they'll be able to catch the 49ers. I just think the 49ers are that good for the division, but they can definitely compete in that division or for the playoffs in the NFC easily. The Cardinals aren't going to be competing. Seahawks, I think, are still yet to be seen. We're recording this before Monday Night Football, so we'll see what they do in Week 4. But I think with Cooper Kupp, this offense is going to be nasty. I mean, the young guys, wide receivers, Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua, definitely proven that they can be NFL wide receivers. And I mean, Puka Nacua is off to the hottest start in NFL history for a wide receiver.
Yeah, and then complement that, like Kyron Williams ran for over 100 yards in this game too. So it's like
didn't even mention him.
Yeah, like
he's a workhorse back. He's carrying the ball 20 times a game. It's insane.
Yeah, it is a very, very good offense, and it still doesn't even seem like, through everything that has happened, it doesn't seem like the NFL is really talking about them that much.
No.
I get the 49ers are in that division, and that's part of it, but
they just won a Super Bowl 2 years ago.
I know, exactly. And to me, it's almost like the offense got better.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because, I mean, last year they lost Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford for a long time during the year. And so if that's what people basing their opinion off of what they did last year, it's kind of insane, because Cooper Kupp was the best wide receiver in football last year before he got hurt. It wasn't even close. And you're getting that guy back to complement with the rookie that's been the standout offensive weapon outside of C.J. Stroud in the NFL this year. Right. The offense is going to keep rolling, I think. It's going to be – I don't think the defense is that bad. I mean, I think they did the same thing the Lions kind of did in the second half, just kind of pulled off the gas a little bit and just let things kind of come to them and almost jeopardize that game. But I like the Rams a lot. I think they're a playoff team for sure. The NFC is definitely an interesting bunch after. I think there's a clear top 3, and then it's interesting after that, or top 4. I guess if you want to put the Lions in the top 4, I don't think I would put 49ers, Eagles, Cowboys somewhere in that order in those 3. But also Cowboys or Eagles, one of those aren't having a home playoff game to start, so could be very interesting in what happens in the NFC. The AFC is a little more clear, I think.
I get I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but how sick would a NFC championship game between the Lions and Rams be at Ford Field? Stafford coming back to Detroit.
Lions fans want to know what to do. I said it on our other podcast because every Lions fan was a Rams fan for some odd reason, because they think they own the world to Matt Stafford, which blows my mind that people think that.
I think the Detroit might explode before the game even finishes if that was the case.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if that's the case.
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be so sick. It would be so sick.
Yeah, I don't think either the Lions or the Rams will be a 1 or a 2 seed, and I think that makes it very difficult for that to be the matchup. We could see that in a different round.
You could see. I mean, potentially we could see the NFC East cannibalize themselves a little bit, and the Lions, if the Lions go on to have just a insanely good record, I wouldn't rule out it was kind of almost like the way the Tennessee kind of walked their way into a first round bye a couple years ago. I would never expect a Tennessee team to be a first round bye. So, yeah, I just, that literally just hit my head. I was like, that would be unbelievable. Script writers, make us script writers for the NFL.
I mean, it could be an away game too because there's no fans in LA, so it'd still be like a home game
for the Lions. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, next game we got Bucks at Saints. Bucks 26, Saints 9. Steady, I think your dream of the New Orleans going to the Super Bowl are officially dead 4 weeks in the season.
Yeah, fuck the Packers. They hurt Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I mean, Derek Carr did not look the same. I mean, they lost to the Packers because of the injury. Jameis Winston sucks. And Derek Carr just did not look the same. The Bucks dominated this game. Their defense showed up, which was a little more surprising to me than anything else. Maybe, yeah, I think that's done with. I think the Saints are dead. Unless Derek Carr can somehow figure out how to get his shoulder healthy again.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, but
Baker's looked fine. We'll see. Mike Evans did lead the game early.
Yeah, hamstring injury, didn't play any of the second half. Yeah, I mean, I think not saying that they can afford to lose a guy like Mike Evans, but it's a guy that you can have at least sit on the sideline for a few weeks and get healthy now that you're leading that division. So,
true.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like this is exactly the type of situation that Baker Mayfield needed to find himself in, is just have a complete team around him. I mean, we did see him go to LA and win a game for them last year. So I don't know. I just think people were so out on Baker because they don't like his personality and the way he talks so
fits
shit
Florida
on them.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think so. And it fits kind of that, like, I might get crucified for this, but he kind of fits that, like, that personality of the Buccaneers. It reminds me of these three teams remind me a lot of each other, and it's the Raiders, the Buccaneers, and the Baltimore Ravens. Like their fans and their culture, you could say, very like gritty, scary culture that you don't want to, like, fan wise of how they present themselves at games. Super cool environment to be a fan in if you get to experience that. So yeah, to your point, it could not be a more perfect fit for Baker down in Tampa, even much more so than when he was with the Browns.
Yeah, it's definitely way better for him down there. I mean, it's their division to lose. I mean, the Saints are probably the only other competitive team. I don't think the Falcons or Panthers have a shot at winning this division. And then you just went on the road and won that game. Same kind of situation that we talked about with the Ravens beating the Browns. You have an easy leg up, or the Lions beating the Packers on the road. Easy leg up on the division when you go on the road. Beat the other team that's probably the second best team in the division, and now you have the leg up, and hopefully your team stays healthy. I think the Mike Evans thing could play a factor, but I mean, it's a hamstring injury. Those things linger on. But if they go out and continue to win some games, I mean, their schedule is not that scary. I mean, especially the back half of their schedule is very easy. They can knock off a lot of teams and make another run. As long as they stay steady here the next 5-6 weeks, the Bucks are going to run away with this division.
I've got the Seahawks and Giants game up, and Kenneth Walker just almost had one of the nastiest touchdown runs. It was almost an Arian Foster type run. It looks like they haven't done the official word yet, but it was a 73-yard touchdown run, and it was one of those ones where the linebacker kind of spins as he's tackling him, and like Kenneth Walker rolls over the top of him, bounces back up, and takes it all the way in for the touchdown with the defense stopping. It looks like his elbow hits the ground, but I can't exactly tell. I don't know what they're ruling, but yeah, as we're recording, that play just happened, and it's very mesmerizing to watch. But it's hard to see it with the turf kicking up. So, or his ass might be down. His right cheek might be down by a cheek. But yeah, that game's
down by a cheek.
Yeah. So that game's officially kicked off. But yeah, I mean, Tampa's a fun team to watch. I mean, it's another team that you weren't really had much expectations for. I think a lot of people expected Baker Mayfield to fail there with Todd Bowles as the head coach, but not a very good division like we talked about earlier in the year. So,
and
Bucks.
we will be previewing their game this upcoming week too, because they play the Lions.
Yep. So dangerous. That Tampa team is dangerous is the best way to phrase it. So, All right, next game, NFC East, Commanders 31, Eagles 34. Was not Eagles looked very, very skeptical in the first half. Bounced back in the second half. Offense finally got rolling with AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts hooking up a couple times, but yeah, it's hard to make. I don't know what to make of these two teams yet. Commanders didn't look very good. Didn't look very good last week against the Bills, and they got smoked. And then they come out against the Eagles and force them to overtime and almost win it. And Eagles went up super late. I think they scored with like 2 minutes left, and then Sam Howell led the team back down and scored a touchdown to force OT. So. As a Washington fan, you have to love what you've seen out of Sam Howell the first 4 weeks of the season. Yeah, last week was ugly, but you're going to have growing pains with a rookie quarterback. But, Philly's the team, the class of the NFC to begin with. So, I mean, the fact that you hung with them and almost snuck out a victory, kind of like the Colts, you've got to be happy about that loss to some degree.
Yeah, I think they have their quarterback. I think Sam Howell's been fine. I'm still not super impressed with Philly. I think they've had a lot of weird games. If I'm Ron Rivera, I maybe go for 2 there at the end instead of pushing it for overtime against the Eagles. Team that you're probably not supposed to beat on the road.
It's Riverboat Ron. It was shocking that he didn't go for it.
New era, I guess. I don't know. I think if this game happened 6 weeks later, maybe he's going for it. Happened so early in the year, maybe you see what you can do. I don't know. I thought that was wrong, but each their own. I think you still had a chance to win it at overtime. But, this game was very close. I think it was Terry McLaurin's catch on the sideline that ruled incomplete by half an inch. That play goes differently. Outcome might have been different. So, all in all, I'm still just not very impressed with Philly. I think Philly's kind of just lollygagging through, and they somehow are 4-0. It's unreal. I don't think they should be 4-0 at all. We'll see when they play Dallas, and can that offense continue to still roll. I mean, this was the best passing game Jalen Hurts has had, but I think a lot of that had to do with you were down. You had to kind of come back into this one. So still not super impressed with how that offense looks, and I think the 49ers have by far separated themselves from Philadelphia.
Yeah, it does. Like, yeah, they're 4-0, and it's hard to like, all right, well, this 4-0 team, there does just seem something amiss with the offense. Like, and I get they put up 34 points. It's like, how do you stay? It doesn't look like the same team to like what you said, Say. It doesn't look like the same team that we saw last year. And it's almost like you're just waiting to see what that flaw might be, but they just haven't faced the right opponent. So I think the Dallas game might be very telling. If they go out and beat Dallas, a very good offense, then we'll just be flat out wrong. So, yeah, all in all, I mean, great. Did not expect that to essentially be the game of the week in the 1 o'clock slate.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fantastic game.
Yeah. All right. Vikings 21, Panthers 13. This
was not a fantastic game.
No, just real ugly. Kirk Cousins had 2 interceptions, and he had a 99-yard pick six. That was not. It was like a rookie type throw out to the goal line of what I don't even know what he was trying to do, but pick six all the way to house, and he got blown up. I mean, he was booking it down the field, but he
did try.
He got destroyed down at the down towards the other end of the field. I was like, I did not think there was a chance he was going to get up from that hit because he got blown up. So, yeah, this just, this team is not a good football team by any means. We've talked about how bad Carolina's
defense
looked,
is so bad,
and even against, even the offense having Justin Jefferson. I mean, who would have thought losing Dalvin Cook would make this offense look so much worse? Yeah, you got Jefferson. He only had 85 yards, but you also have the highest paid tight end in the league, and he only had 2 catches for 24 yards. So, I don't know. Don't know exactly what's going on up in Minnesota, but it's not good. And again, I think I think if you have hope as a Vikings fan moving forward, you're happy that they didn't win. Or you're happy they won this game clearly. But if they would have lost this game, it would have been. I think the fire sale would have been on in Minnesota. And I know Justin Jefferson throughout the week was kind of have to squash like trade requests or trade rumors. And he's like, no, I still have belief here. We're going to go out and grind. And it just not a good looking football team by any means.
No, their next 3 games: Chiefs, at Bears, 49ers.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, they have a first place schedule, so what do you expect? I don't have much hope for this team either. There's not much to say about the Panthers. Bryce Young's going through growing pains.
Yep.
I mean, he doesn't have the greatest team with him. I don't think he's looked that bad in his starts. I mean, the biggest problem is that he didn't get to face the Seattle Seahawks defense, and Andy Dalton looked good. So that doesn't help in the situation for him. But I think he's still been fine. I think all 3 of the top quarterbacks in this last draft class are fine. I wouldn't be too concerned about any of them at this point. I just don't think he has the team around him to sustain what's going on. And the biggest problem for them is they gave up their first round pick. So that sucks.
Yeah. Panthers, there's not going to be a lot, like you said, there's not going to be a lot to say about them all season long. It is a tough look. I know they got the quarterback they want, but I think that team could desperately use a first round draft pick this year. There's a lot of holes that need to be filled. So it could be there might not be a lot of things to say about the Panthers for a few years here because they need a lot of pieces. Little update as we're Kenneth Walker's touchdown did not stand, so it is still 0-0 for those who were wondering for that update, even though you've already seen the game and know what happened. All right, next game, Steelers at Texans. Another ass kicking that, this was the one game that you and I talked about. He's like, what is CJ Stroud going to do against a good defense? Oh, he's just going to shred him for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, CJ Stroud, some of these, you would even say like touch passes of where they need to be perfect on the mark. CJ Stroud looks like he's been playing in the NFL for 5-6 years now. I can't say enough great things about him. And it's shocking. He is an Ohio State quarterback. He is breaking that mold for, Ohio State quarterbacks behind him. But, man, him and Nico Collins, the Ohio State to Michigan connection, who would have thought? Yeah, I mean, he looks unbelievable. And I think if you're just a fan of football, you've got to appreciate what he's doing. He's playing with a lot of poise, and again, just the perfection that he's playing with through 4 games of his NFL career. Houston is a very fun football team to watch right now.
I think they're my favorite to win the AFC South. I mean, you got a quarterback that hasn't turned the ball over in 4 games. It's hard to root against that. Shocking that Nico Collins is their best receiver. It's kind of, I mean, Tank Dell, rookie, and then Robert Woods. Like it's not like they have a whole lot of options there either, and he's making it look very easy against the Steelers defense that's very, very good. I think that the Texans could have something here. We'll see what they do against the rest of their schedule, but if CJ Stroud's not throwing interceptions, you're going to be in a lot of games, and that's all you can really hope for. I mean, Dameon Pierce has looked good. Team in general, I mean, even their defense, I mean, the 6 points against here. I get Kenny Pickett got hurt in this game, but that's still, I think, happened after halftime.
Yeah.
So you stopped an offense that at least seemingly has put up points in the past, more than 6 points. But geez, this was maybe the most shocking total score of the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's definitely putting eyes on what's going on in Houston. Texans might have a rookie quarterback take them to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, and those red jerseys that they wore on Sunday, as well
Agreed.
too. Fire uniforms.
Agreed. They should wear those more often.
Yeah, I think
that should be their typical.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, the red looks sweet. Yeah, is there a team? This is going to come off really. Is there a team? Yeah, I guess you could. 49ers is more of a maroon color, right? Yeah, you got the Chiefs.
The Bucks are a little different too. Like all those colors they're red. I think I don't know what it is. There's something with their red that looks a lot better than everybody else's that's red.
It's probably because the navy potentially. I'm just trying to think of like why their red looks so much cooler than it's the like the helmets too look.
It could be because it's such a dark color with it. Like, I mean, the Chiefs are white with their red.
Yeah.
The 49ers got the gold or beige, I guess is what maybe it looks like more than gold. But yeah, I like those uniforms a lot. Or it's just how they're wearing them with the shoulder straps with the maroon across the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those uniforms a lot.
Yeah, they should just wear those all the time. I mean, it is
it's way better than the
Navy. You can just stare at it all day long. It doesn't get old.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, very, again, fun team down there in Houston, what they got brewing. So, yeah, watch out.
Here's a hot take. The Steelers will draft a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, it's Kenny Pickett. He only had a bone bruise, so he avoided serious injury there. But yeah, the offense for Steelers are just not good at all. So, yeah, again, it's gonna be that year where they just float right around 500, and Mike Tomlin just kind of sit there, and sure enough, they're gonna finish 9-8 again. And I feel like that almost. I guess if you are a fan of the Steelers, Steady, do you wish your team would just either suck real bad so you can get a elite player in the draft, or are you kind of like, hey, it doesn't really matter, you can get elite players throughout, you just got to draft good? Or I guess what's your thought there? Because it just feels like they get stuck in purgatory every single year.
No, I think you got to think of this as a team that's always been good too. So yeah. I think they'd much rather, same with the Patriots, like I'd much rather be a Steelers fan right now than a Patriots fan. You're used to all this winning. I think you keep the status quo, at least hope for the best, and maybe you can sneak out a 10-7 season or a 9-8 season, and somehow that gets you into a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And even if that's like the extent that you're going, I think you're still satisfied with it and just hope that the players you're getting are developing. I mean, I think Mike Tomlin's the best coach in football.
Agreed. We've had that conversation.
Yeah, I just think based on him having teams that are always making the playoffs, regardless who's playing, it shows that he's the best coach in football. And I think they can figure it out wherever they're drafting. So them drafting in the top 5, I don't think that fan base wants that for a team that's going to go like 3-14 or even worse. I think they'd rather push it for a 500 record. Right.
Yeah, no, it'll be a story to watch, but yeah, things offense seems to be struggling quite a bit there in Pittsburgh. So maybe they just got to figure out a way for their defense to score points all the time. All right, 4 games left. We've got Raiders at Chargers. Raiders 17, Chargers 24. Aiden O'Connell made his NFL starting debut against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. I know Herbert got his left hand hurt in this game. And the brace that he was wearing on this thing was gnarly looking.
So from what I believe happened is that I think it was his middle finger or his ring finger. I can't remember which finger it was, but it was on his left hand. So he was able to play through it. It got caught in, I think, Max Crosby's face mask, and he dislocated or broke his finger. And then apparently also might have lost his nail or something along those lines, that the top of his finger was pretty banged up and torn to shreds. That's why the outside had to be bandaged. So it was bandaged and splinted. And then so he went out there the one possession with just like the bandaging on it. And then the next possession they took off everything and put a glove on and then bandaged him back up and everything else. It clearly made a difference. I mean, that's the only reason I think this game was close. The second half, I don't think Justin Herbert could really hold the ball. He also couldn't go under center. They had to do shotgun snaps the rest of the game because he physically couldn't snap the ball with his left hand being the way it was. So seemingly it's probably going to be a fine thing. It might take 2 weeks where he's going to have some kind of brace or something on that hand, which will impact some things. But I think just with some rest and time in between games, I think he'll be fine. So nothing super serious there. But I don't think this game was very competitive. I think the Chargers had this thing pretty locked down. It seemed competitive towards the end just because the Chargers literally had a quarterback with one hand playing. So I don't know if that was the best thing for them to have that situation happen, but the Chargers have seemingly turned things around. Also, it is the Chargers. The Chargers love to just have nail biters. Yeah. Of course they were at home against the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm a sicko for nasty injuries, and I'm scrolling through Twitter right now to see if I can't find the official video or whatever happened of it. So the report is he did suffer a fractured finger, and it happened on that horrible interception that he had down the field across the middle. And it's actually when he was like either getting blocked or trying to make it. Here's the video right here. Got it pulled up. Oh yeah, you can't really see it because
it got into someone's face mask, right?
Yeah, it was Max Crosby.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he was going back and forth with Max Crosby and another defensive tackle, and he pushed down on the ground. And initially, you can't see his hand or anything or any blood right away. But yeah, they said it was a pretty nasty nail injury as well too. So, luckily for them,
the finger probably looked gross.
Yeah. That is like terrifying. Just your nail being ripped off. But
right after the game, because the Chargers ended up kneeing it out, and so Crosby and Herbert were both on the field, and Crosby clearly knew something happened during that play.
Probably had
he was involved in it. So
probably had his
Max
nail
Crosby
in
was
the
the first
face
person.
mask.
He might have. Max Crosby was the first person to go up to him, and they were discussing it, and you could see it after the game, and you couldn't hear what they were saying, of course, but like Herbert kept on pointing to his fingers and stuff. Like Crosby was just curious what the hell happened, and he's like, "Dude, it's probably fucked up. Like my finger's fucked right now."
Yeah, it doesn't look good, but again, lucky for them, they're on a bye next week, and he's got full 2 weeks to get healthy.
I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think he'll. Luckily, it's on his non-throwing hand. So,
that too.
Next game, Patriots at Cowboys. Not much to say about this one. Defense, as long as the Cowboys have their defense winning them football games, they don't have to really stress about anything on the offensive side of the ball.
Which hasn't been super great either. But their defense has shown up in their offense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Dak did throw he was 28 for 34 and 261 yards. Like that is
this was his best game he's played.
Correct. Yeah, it looked really good, but it sounds like we could be at the end of the road potentially for the Mac Jones experiment. So he did get benched in this game. Bailey Zappi did come in and finish it, even though he didn't really look much better. Mac Jones probably had the worst interception on the year, you could say, threw completely across his body for a pick six. Don't know what he was thinking whatsoever, but Patriots fans down bad. I will never feel bad for a Patriots fan because you got to watch your team win 6 Super Bowls, and I've never even seen the Lions win a playoff game. So credit to you. I will be a sore loser about that on my end, but at the same time too, you had 20 plus years of success. The one thing that I will say, maybe Tom Brady was the real deal and not so much Bill Belichick because, this team has not looked good since Tom Brady has left.
No, I definitely don't think it was Bill Belichick. And if anyone tries to say, sure, maybe Bill Belichick had some kind of say in it, but Tom Brady by far has won that city everything that they've had happen to them in the last 2 decades. Mac Jones looks terrible. It'll be interesting to see what they do going forward if they want to try Bailey Zappi. I mean, you're 1-3 at this point too. I mean, doesn't look like there's much hope for this team going forward. So maybe they want to get in the sweepstakes for Drake May. That's probably the best fit for Drake May. I always think they're the Steelers, but I don't think the Steelers were going to be in a top 5 situation. So, hey, maybe Bill wants to run it back with a different guy because Mac Jones for sure is not it.
Yeah, and I mean, how many years for years and years? System. Yeah, well, I mean, Mac Jones is in that system right now, and he looks god awful. So, yeah, I mean, there wasn't much to say about it. I mean, the game was over before it even started. So, yeah, not much to say about the game, but it'll be interesting to watch the development of the Patriots moving forward. A lot of people were expecting, a Ezekiel Elliott revenge game, and he went 6 rushes for 16 yards. So not the revenge game that I think a lot of people were expecting there. All right, 2 games left. We've got Cardinals at 49ers. I mean, what do you want us to say here? Christian McCaffrey is
just CMC. Yeah.
Is just if you just want to watch a fun running back, watch CMC. I look back as like, imagine what would have happened if he didn't get hurt in those back-to-back seasons with the Panthers. And that's why I kind of made the comments like he's a top 10 quarterback of all time, or will at least finish. I think that's where some of the arguments will be made, is like he hasn't he lost essentially those 2 seasons. But talk about a guy that can just do it all. And to be in Kyle Shanahan's offense too, it just feels like it's cheating for them.
All right, let's play a game.
All right, hit me.
All right, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, all started the same year. Who has the most rushing yards? Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey. I'm
going to say Joe Mixon.
He has the second most. Dalvin Cook is the most.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, and essentially, and none of those guys missed any long-term time. Or did Dalvin Cook tear his ACL?
I don't think so.
I can't remember. My brain's what year were they drafted?
2017. No, I mean he only played 4 games his rookie year. Did he get hurt that year?
Yes.
But after that, I mean, he played 11 games the year after, and he's played 14.
Yeah, he tore his rookie year against the Lions. That's right. Yeah, it was who was the linebacker that kind of rolled him over, and I actually remember that. So anyway, that classic goes Dalvin Cook. This is current all time. Does it have Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Kamara, and then CMC is the lowest out of all of them? Which does it have games played next there as well?
I don't have that on me right now.
Oh, okay.
So Dalvin Cook's played in 77 games. CMC's played in 79.
Oh, okay. All right. So maybe but I think
also that's
are
pure rushing.
Pure rushing yards. Yeah. I mean, we've seen what he's done out of the back. I'd be interested to see what that stat is for total yards.
I can try to look that up real quick. Anyways, Deebo Samuel barely played in this game, barely touched the ball. They still steamrolled the Cardinals.
Yeah. And then Brandon Ayuk had one of the, I don't know what, it looked like the Cardinals could have picked the ball off, and Brandon Ayuk had one of the nastiest receptions that you could see. It's almost like he cut in front of him and just kind of picked it off in front of the cornerbacks that were there. But I mean, if it's not Deebo one week, it's Brandon Ayuk the next week. And then, with the mix of Christian McCaffrey, you don't really need much else. Like, this is a team that has George Kittle on it, and we've seen George Kittle for maybe have, I think, one good game so far this season. Luckily for him, it's probably a good thing because he's been injured a lot the last couple of years. And I know it was even questionable to start the year. So, it'll be interesting to see if anybody really kind of threatens the the 49ers, the closest game that they've played this year was against the Rams, and it was a 7-point victory. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they beat the Steelers 30-7. They've put up 30 in every single one of their games this year. They won it Steelers 30-7, Rams 30-23, 30-12 against the Giants, and then 35-16 against the Cardinals. So, the Cowboys game next Sunday night will for sure probably be the game of the entire weekend. So we'll that's arguably their biggest test moving forward. And honestly, their only other big game that they play the rest of the year, or they got a couple. They got Eagles late in the season, and then Ravens late in the season, and then the Rams again too. So should be easy sledding for the Rams moving forward. And I mean, this is a team that if they go 17-0, I would not be surprised. I know it's extremely tough to do, but man, do they look good.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't have much to say on that game, but all-purpose. Do you know who is the current active player with the most all-purpose yards? So this also includes kick returning.
All-purpose yards?
Yeah, who the active player with the most all-purpose yards is.
Okay, so you threw the note in there about kick returns, and I feel
kick and punt returns are included in this stat, and all offensive yards too, receiving, rushing.
Who's like a big time? I'm trying to think of like a big receiver, like the last big receiver that I remember, and I'm sure you'll tell me after, but like it reminds me like Antonio Brown. Like if Antonio Brown was still in the league, I would guess him for sure. But
here I'll give you context then. So this person's 74th all time in all-purpose yards. The highest person after him is Tyler Lockett and DeAndre Hopkins are next to each other at 111 and 112. Active players. And then Tyreek Hill is after that. So someone is higher than that. This guy is also older than all of those guys too.
There's no way it's Randall Cobb.
No.
Oh, I was gonna say that would be
Randall Cobb is 135 all time though.
Yeah, I got nothing. Who we got?
Cordell Patterson.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Kind of forgot about him a little bit, not going to lie. Haven't heard his name thrown. I think he just made his season debut, didn't he?
I think so, yeah. And so CMC's 209 in all-purpose yards, and he doesn't return kicks ever, so or never has. Yeah.
By that,
this list is pretty crazy because I've never heard of Brian Mitchell. Do you know who Brian Mitchell is?
No, he sounds like someone that played in the 1970s.
He played in primarily in the 90s, but he was just a straight kick returner. He had 2,300 yards in kicks and punt returns.
Jesus. Where does Devin Hester rank on that list?
I don't know.
Control F.
Yeah. 46.
Oh, wow. Damn, that guy was just returning a ton. Whatever team he played to, their defense must have sucked ass.
He played for primarily Washington. Yeah, dude, listen to some of these. Dude, he had 3 years of over 2,000 all-purpose yards and just kick returns. He never caught a pass, I don't think. That's actually, sorry. He has 2,000 yards rushing and 2,000 yards receiving. So
he's like a Cleve Raymond. Yards. He's like a better Cleve Raymond.
He's got 5,000 yards in punt returns in his career and over 14,000 yards in kick returns. It's just absurd.
Jesus. I feel like that's just a made up stat. Who's number 2 on this list?
He's number 2. Number 1 is Jerry Rice.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Which he's only 216 yards away from Jerry Rice.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
No.
How is that? All right, that makes no sense.
This is we're getting sidetracked, but listen to this top 10. So Jerry Rice, Brian Mitchell, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith. So Hall of Famers, then Brian Mitchell, Frank Gore. I would have never guessed this guy as number 6. Darren Sproles.
I could see that. I think he returned kicks, and then I could see that with the Saints. I mean, when he was with Drew Brees, I mean, he was all over the place.
And then it goes Tim Brown, Marshall Faulk, Steve Smith Sr., and then LT to round out the top 5, and then Barry sitting at 11.
So this Brian Mitchell is the only guy not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Darren Sproles and Frank Gore aren't in the Hall of Fame, and neither Steve Smith. Steve Smith's not going to be a Hall of Famer. Frank Gore probably will be a Hall of Famer.
Steve Smith will be.
You think Steve Smith's a Hall of Famer?
Oh, absolutely. He's on the ballot, I think, for the first time this year.
I don't know that he's a Hall of Famer.
And I think didn't he just get announced? I'm pretty sure he just got announced to the. I think he's.
Is he actually a Hall of Famer?
Hang on.
Or is he just on the ballot? I don't know that he's a Hall of Famer.
He for sure will be a Hall of. Steve Smith was a dog. He's a finalist. Oh no, he actually got snubbed as a finalist. Hall of Fame class 2023. Steve Smith Sr. snubbed.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, dude.
Dude, I would imagine.
He's only a Pro Bowl 5 times. Played 13 years.
Yeah. All right, so Steve Smith had 7 seasons in Carolina with over 1,000 receiving yards and caught 67 touchdowns. He played for the Panthers. 2001. Steve Smith was my favorite player of all time. It still is.
Yeah, he had one in 2005. Really good year.
All right, where's the actual finalist list? Because it says so compared to the receiver finalists, Johnson, Torrey Holt, and Reggie Wayne. Here's how Steve Smith's numbers stack up. So we had 1,031 receptions compared to Andre Johnson's 1,062 receptions, Torrey Holt's 920 receptions, and then Reggie Wayne's 1,070 receptions. Steve Smith leads all 4 of those guys in reception yards, and he leads all those guys except Reggie Wayne. He only missed out by 1 touchdown. So Reggie Wayne had 82 and Steve Smith had 81. And those guys are the final. So it's got to be like a next year type thing, maybe. 15 finalists for the. All right, it's taking me to the NFL app. I know we got super sidetracked here, but
maybe he is a Hall of Famer.
I would argue at some point he has to be. All right, so here are the finalists this year, and this is good. I don't even know when this came out. So Jared Allen, Willie Anderson, Dwight Freeney, Devin Hester. Yeah, so Torrey Holt's on there, and Steve Smith has better numbers than he does. And then Reggie Wayne is on there as well too. So yeah, he's at least should be a finalist. Oh, you know who else was just on there? Guy we just talked about. Or no, sorry, that's Darren Woodson. I thought it said Darren Sproles. All right, I don't know. Steve Smith, Hall of Famer.
I'd be shocked if Darren Sproles is ever a Hall of Famer.
Yards tell us different. All right, let's get to the last game. Chiefs 23, Jets 20. Definitely did not see this game playing out the way it did. Zach Wilson, the first quarterback to outplay Patrick Mahomes in yards passing, completions, and touchdowns. No other quarterback's ever done that in the NFL or in college against Patrick Mahomes. So
he was the best quarterback on the field.
Yeah, arguably. And one of the best quarterbacks this weekend. I mean, he went 28 for 39, 245 yards, 2 TDs, had a very crucial fumble, which sucked to see because I think they were going to go down the field and actually score. The one thing I will say, to me, it was, all right, we're going against the Chiefs. It can't get any worse than what we're doing. We're going to open up the entire playbook to Zach Wilson, and this is his last final test. We're going to let him throw the ball as much as we can, get a true sample size of what this quarterback can do, and man, did he answer the bell. He looked unbelievable. And I go back, the Lions played against the Jets last year in a pretty tight game, and Zach Wilson did not look bad at all in that game either. So this kid has showed glimpses that he can play in the NFL. It just, can he do it on a consistent basis? But, I mean, I know he was pretty down on himself about losing that football game, but, I mean, you have to feel your confidence had to do a complete 180 after leaving that Sunday night game.
Yeah, I think they gave him a little bit more time, and they were playing into a more of a West Coast offense and playing, hey, you're taking 2 steps back and you're getting rid of this ball. It's going for 4 yards and letting the receivers do most of the work. That was a lot of how the game started. And then as it went on, there was a lot more deep passing. I mean, they end up having to come back. They were down 17-0 in this game too. This game could have gross fast.
Yeah.
And the defense is good enough as long as he's playing decent. He doesn't even have to play as good as he played today. They can be in a lot of games. They played the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs have the best quarterback in the league and didn't look great and had a real shot at winning this game. There were some questionable penalties in this one. Another game probably dictated by the refs, or at least seemingly. But yeah, I was very impressed with Zach Wilson. I mean, maybe the Jets were right in not going to get another quarterback and getting some old guy come in. We'll see if he can continue to do this. I mean, this was one of the 4 weeks, and he hasn't looked good in the other one. So hopefully things are starting to slow down for him a little bit, and they can get rolling some. At some point, they got to get a run game going, too. That's been a key factor. I mean, they signed Dalvin Cook. He's been absolute trash. He hasn't been anything. And they're just not getting Breece Hall the ball enough or doing schemes good enough that they get him in the open space. I kind of see Breece Hall. I think he's a better runner. Like, if you want to compare him to other teams, like we can do it to Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he's more of a number one back, but maybe not the type that needs to have the ball handed off to him 20 times a game. But you need to be able to find him to get some space at some point, because I think that's going to help alleviate some of the pressure off of Zach Wilson, because they just don't really have a run game at all. And then the Chiefs, I don't know that they've looked super superb yet either offensively. I think a lot of that is they don't really have a wide receiver, one, and that might come to bite them when they're playing top-tier NFL teams like the Bills or the Ravens, someone where they need someone to make a play other than Travis Kelce. So we'll see what they end up looking like. I'm still not super sold on them. That's why I think the Bills are the clear front runner in the AFC right now. They seem to be clicking on all cylinders after the week 1 disaster they had. And I just think the Chiefs have some question marks to deal with. Maybe some of it has to do with off the field girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not going to talk about Taylor Swift on this show. It's been blown.
I've already said my piece.
Yeah. It's been blown way out of proportion. And I simply do not care. So we're not going to touch on that at all. Patrick Mahomes had a couple uncharacteristic interceptions in this game. And, but I mean, luckily for Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs were able to kind of hang on and win this game. And it's almost like it almost just reminded the Chiefs went up early, like 17-0. They just got lazy. It's almost like they just didn't care. Even so much towards the end of the game as well, too. So, ultimate drive, Zach Wilson had a fumble with 7 minutes to go, and then the Chiefs never gave the ball back. So talk about just controlling the clock and time of possession from that standpoint. There were a couple of calls in this game that were just egregious. The pass interference call on Sauce Gardner was not pass interference whatsoever. That's just kind of getting both players getting a little handsy. And then the hold on, I don't know, was it 2nd and 21 or 3rd and 21 where Patrick Mahomes ran it all the way up the middle?
Yep.
The most blatant hold I've ever seen in my entire life. And it just continued on for 20 seconds in front of multiple refs. I couldn't tell you. I have no idea what was going on there. It's like they just, to me, it's like, yeah, league's rigged, blah, 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 whatever it may be. It was very egregious where I don't understand how you make the call on the one end and just flat out don't see a hold for 20 seconds on the other.
No, I agree. I definitely took it out of Jets fans to get that comeback win, and very crucial penalties too. I would have kind of loved to see the Chiefs lose. I'm kind of cheering for that at this point with all the off the field stuff and how annoying it is to watch a Chiefs game now. I don't think I've ever felt that way. Like, yeah, they've been great the last few years, and I usually tend to not like those teams unless they're one of mine. But I didn't really have an opinion on hating the Chiefs until now. It's like, I just don't want you on my TV anymore. It's not fun to watch you guys.
because you're not actually getting game highlights.
No.
You're looking at Taylor Swift, watching a football. That's not what I tuned into football to watch. It's not entertaining by any means. And I get the NFL is getting a new fan base and people eyes on the sport that they haven't got. So they're trying to grab it as much as that as they can. But I don't know, maybe give us an alternate broadcast that we can watch for that game. If do your Taylor Swift vision or cam on a streaming platform, and then don't show her on the other, because a lot of us NFL fans who just want to watch the NFL don't need to see her all game long.
Well, hopefully, so looking at their schedule, they don't. Well, that's a primetime game. Are we considering the international series primetime games?
No, we already said last week they are not. So.
Okay. Well, they're on Thursday night, week 6. They're in, I think that's Germany, week 9. And then they also are on Monday Night Football, week 11. And then Sunday Night Football, and then another Monday Night Football. So, yeah, there's plenty of Chiefs still to go. The good news is when they're on Monday Night Football, there's at least a secondary broadcast. Hopefully the Mannings aren't also loving Taylor Swift, which they probably are.
They're probably going to have her on as like an interview. She's going to do an interview from the stadium on the Manning cast. So, yeah, there's no escaping her. I mean, I will, again, when they break up, the album will be fire. That's all I know.
Did I send you the guy that made his breakup song?
Yes. Yeah, you did.
Awesome song. Yeah. You guys can find it online, I'm sure. It's a perfect song. And it's good. If that's the song or something similar to that, I'm going to die.
Yeah, it is. It's only a matter of time. I mean, I like Travis Kelce a lot, but
I think she's got to wait until at least week 11, because that's the game they host Philadelphia, and she's from Philly.
Yeah, damn it, Say. We said we were not going to talk about Taylor Swift, and here we are. She encapsulates the sport. What can you say? Taylor Swift is the NFL now.
Travis Kelce's going to throw the game to Philly because he feels bad for his brother and her, and then she's going to break up with him after the game, or it's going to go on the jumbotron like, "Hey, will you marry me?" He's going to propose to her, and she's going to say no.
Damn. Yeah. What a string of events. All right. That's enough Taylor Swift and I guess Chiefs talk. I guess you can't talk about the Chiefs without talking about Taylor Swift. That's just what she's done to them this year. So you can thank Travis Kelce for that one. But yeah, I thought maybe there's a chance we were going to touch on NFL and this week we went even longer than we did last week. So luckily for everyone that does listen week in and week out, we've got some bye weeks coming up. So shouldn't the recap shouldn't go as long as these have, because we won't have all the games. So we look forward to Wednesday. We'll talk Ryder Cup then. We'll talk a little bit college football and some other things as well. So until then, we will see everyone on Thursday.